Today you will hear about a 9-year-old girl who was abducted, abused, and forced to become a child soldier in Uganda.
Imagine a young girl with no hope for the future, but God had another plan.
Our guest is Jennifer Mitchell, and you will be astounded by her story and how God is using her today.
Stay tuned to hear about the goodness of God. This is LifeLine Today.
Oh, welcome to the program. We're so glad you've joined us today.
Yes.
It's going to be an inspiring program. Want to urge you to call the prayer lines if you want to get in early, because they do tend to get busy through the program. And we have prayer partners standing by if you're watching this Monday and Friday evening. Well, welcome to the program, Jennifer.
Thank you
Hi,
so
Jennifer.
much.
What a privilege
so good
to have you here
with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, as we said at the beginning, you're presently a child advocate, but your history, it's almost unbelievable when you hear the whole story. But you were abducted at 9 years of age by Joseph Kony, his army LRA in Uganda.
Yes.
Tell us the story.
So at the age of 9, it was just one morning and we're walking going into the city because that's the safest place there is. Not as safe, obviously, because I was still abducted. So basically, we went in there. As we were heading into town that day, we got caught by the rebel group.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was this? Was this your entire family, or was it a group of young people?
A group of young people, friends and siblings, and we were just
Okay.
going into the town, and just all the young children, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Every evening we go into town areas to avoid being captured by the rebels, and then in the morning you come back home, go for firewood, go get some water, and then you do the same thing again.
And it was down one of those occasions that you were abducted?
Yes.
Tell us what happened then.
So that evening the sun was going down and it was getting a little bit late. We were a little bit later that day going into the city. So the rebels came where we were. A boy came running down and saying the rebels were in the next village. But the villages in Uganda are so close together that they're not really that far apart.
Yeah.
So we went into the bushes off the road and we hid under the tunnel pipes. There was like a water thing, and we hid under there, and actually there were some wasps in there. So they
Wow.
started stinging some of the children.
Oh, my.
And the children started crying, the babies were crying. So we left that spot, and as we were moving from that spot and going to find another place, we didn't find a good hiding spot. So we were right where the rebels came from, and that's when I was taken that night.
Wow.
Now you were hiding.
We were
and
hiding.
with your sister.
Yes.
And you were very quiet. But what
Yes.
happened? Your sister,
They stepped on my sister.
they stepped on
They
her.
stepped on her along the way. We were just lying down. Everybody's flat on the ground, just praying and hoping that they do their thing and they pass right along.
Yeah.
And when they stepped on her and she made the noise, without even thinking, I reached out and I covered her mouth.
Yeah.
And then I just stood up.
Yeah.
So then that's how I was taken, and she was not taken that
And she
day.
got away.
And she got
Right.
away.
So tell us what happened to you then. Where were you taken and how were you treated?
Mostly, it's not a particular place. So we move from one place to the other. So one village to the next. They capture the children, and they take some strong men. If you're not useful to the rebels, mostly they would kill the people whom they're taking. They take the children because they can train them to become soldiers. So we would go village to village. They would take all the food, burn the villages, and then they go to the next village. And then some time
Wow.
came when we just were going to places that I didn't even recognize. We didn't recognize those places, so we weren't sure where we're at. So
What is going through a 9-year-old's brain at this time? Do you feel hopeless? Do you know how serious this is?
in the beginning, I did not feel hopeless because we knew the whole country was at war. Everybody knows the stories of the rebels. We have people and relatives who've been captured. Even up to today, we still don't know. We assume maybe they have died. So we kind of knew, everybody knew what was happening. So I had this hope that I would escape. and everybody would try to escape. So you're looking for means to escape. You're trying, can I escape? What can I do? Who do I connect with? But I was soon discouraged because every child who tried to escape was either killed, or their hands were cut off, or their legs were cut off.
Oh my
or
goodness.
Things like that, yeah. So
Yeah.
Wow.
we were really discouraged. And time came when if you were caught trying to escape, they wouldn't even shoot you because the rebels would say you're wasting their bullets.
Yeah.
So then they would use machetes and stuff like that to torture
Oh,
children
wow.
with cuts on their backs and on their skin.
Put fear in all of you.
To put fear in
so
the
you
children.
wouldn't escape.
So we wouldn't
So
try to
you
escape.
lived in total fear. And was there also a lot of abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse?
Yes, there was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of sexual abuse where, young girls, the rebel leaders would just pick any girl. And these were young girls, pick any girls, take them as wives, but not just the one wife. Any other rebel leader could come and again, take those girls and sleep with them. So there was a lot of pregnancies,
Wow.
and children being born, in the bush, but there's no medication or none of that. Actually, it's believed that the rate of HIV virus highly increased during that time. A whole generation of them,
Yes.
kind of, from coming from
Yeah.
that. So there was a lot of abuse, but I believe the hand of God was on my life before I even know. You know how
Yes.
that happens?
Yes.
I believe you.
We walk, we do our things in life. All along, God is guiding us.
God has a plan for your life.
All
and-
along, there is a plan. Before I knew there was a
That's
plan.
amazing.
Yeah.
Because I had started school, I knew just a little bit of English, but the rebels didn't know any words of English, so they wanted me to interpret for them.
Okay.
And I didn't know much, so they'll say, what are they saying? What is this thing? What do you know? And that gave me favor.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
They
you
needed
did
me.
become a child soldier.
I did become a
So-
child soldier,
Yeah.
yes.
Talk to us about that.
So in the time that I became a child soldier, I realized escaping wasn't going to help me. So I started to live. I wanted to be alive, and I look back now and I think anyone can do anything just to survive.
Wow.
That you can do anything just to survive. And when you're looking from the outside, we have no idea why people do the things they do. So if we want to reach them, we need to know why they're doing those things. So I decided I wanted to survive. Living is more important than anything else. So I started to pretend to be rude. I started to pretend that I can do this. We would go in the burning villages. I just did it in my spirit. I knew it was wrong and it hurt me. But after some time, all of that started to disappear and to trail off. I didn't feel anything and it just started to become normal. And after some time, I didn't even have any feeling about it, and I became one of the best.
So basically, your conscience just disappeared.
My
and
conscience
you
just
became one
disappeared.
of the best.
I became one of the best.
Isn't that something?
This is probably a self-defense.
It's a
It's protecting yourself.
It's protecting
So you
me.
put on
Wow.
this
To put on this cover, this layer.
exterior.
This exterior layer. And then so from there, I was given a machine gun. I was in charge of the other girls, because in their mind, in that state, I was one of the good ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
I showed no remorse. We just made actions without consequences and stuff like that. So we would go for firewood, we would go to collect water, and we would help the rebels kind of put the children into different groups, kind of, and I had really good leadership skills too. So they
Yeah.
they helped. They were like, okay, you do this, but along the way, we met, like, for example, one time my uncle had boys, and they were saying, where are the boys, where are the children? And it's like, I don't know where they are. And they're like, we know that this family has boys. They were in the bush hiding just like we were, and they lit a plastic jerry can on his body, and the skin was just, and he's screaming and crying, and it's just something that is definitely hard to take off of my mind.
Yeah.
And another incident was when we reached one village, and the boy who was there to sleep with the mom.
Oh my.
And then the mother is begging, her son to just do whatever it is so that they don't kill the son. So that's why it's really tough. We look at the world, we want to help people, but to help them, we have to understand where they're coming from, and that's one of the best ministries we can do.
How old were you around that time?
I would have been 9.
9? And
Yes.
how long were you with the rebels?
Just over a year. So when I came back, I was 10.
So what happened to make you want to escape?
That's a good question, because in the beginning, I wanted to escape. Then I didn't want to escape. Life became normal, and I was just numb. Everything was numb until one day we were caught up in an ambush with the government army. And the rebels, of course, were tied up, to one another. So we don't know what to do, really. And the rebels, we had an open gunfire. Like an open gunfire with the government army, and then the helicopters came around there. There were landmines everywhere. Children were just being blown away.
Oh, my.
Landmines. You have
Horrific.
You have no time to stop and think, what happened to them, or do I look back? What's going on? Are they okay? You don't have time.
Yeah.
You don't even think about that. The only person you think about is yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember at the end of that day, a helicopter came and rescued a few children, just a few. And we were running towards the helicopter, but then it took off as they're firing at it.
Wow.
And it left us. So I saw these children looking down at us. And it seemed like in that moment, just for a split second, everything that I knew in the past and my faith kind of came back, because I was that close to hope. I was that close to freedom, and everything came rushing back to me. It was a moment of a deep sadness, because I felt like God didn't care about me. I might never escape. You see death in your face every single day.
Wow.
That you have no choice but to believe. But when nothing was happening, I had no reason to believe. But this day, I saw hope. There was a light that was there, my faith. My faith came back.
Yes.
And then I started thinking, that's the day that my mindset was changed. I started thinking, I remember that I came from a Christian family. Then I even wondered they could still be praying. And then I started thinking about home. I started thinking of, it's possible, because these children were rescued today.
All of this tells you just how intense the spiritual atmosphere was on this whole situation. That a young person, a child, can be influenced in this way. And then how God began the spark
Yes.
of that new life. So you ended up, though, how did you end up in a Christian mission and things began to change?
How did you escape finally?
So my escape, so from that night, I started thinking, but I was in a position where I could do something. So every evening or day when we would go to get firewood, to cook. Now, you got to remember when I was first captured, I was one of the girls that carried a hot stove on my head while the food was cooking.
You carried a hot stove?
Yes, like a charcoal stove.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
On my head while it was cooking.
My.
And for years, I didn't have hair growing on my head, just like there's no hair growing there. But so I knew that really well.
Amazing.
And I always kind of connected with the girls who would, go get the firewood. And, so I offered, because you know how if you've gone through something, you connect with the people who are like that. So I started to plan the escape, and I said, if there's one day an opportunity come, I would go. And then this fateful day, I didn't tell anyone. I took a group of 36 girls with me.
36?
36, because that's the crew that was, some go for firewood, others for water. You get something, you come and cook for all the rebels and the commanders. And then we had, I don't know, thousands for sure of children gathered on the border of Uganda and Sudan.
Yes.
And I believe this is what they did, is they gathered so many children there, and they later moved them into Sudan in exchange for ammunition and landmines and other things to help the rebels continue the war.
So you knew if you were ever in Sudan, you'd never see your family.
I would never come back.
Wow, you'd never come back.
Yes.
So this was what made you decide we're going to run for it.
I needed to run for it, but then running for it meant I could die in the process, but there was no option.
So, moving ahead here before we run out of time, how did you actually escape from them then?
So we started to escape, and it was this one evening that we were all lying down, and our hands were tied. So I started to crawl on my elbow, kind of going like that. I left all of the girls behind, and I started to do that, and the next girl saw me, and they did the same, and they followed when I got a little bit further away. So you're moving very slowly that they don't see what you're doing, but you're making headway.
Yeah.
And then when I got further away, I got up and I ran. The girls saw me, did the same. Another person saw her, did the same. So when we ran, coming probably for the most part of the night, and we came to this cave, around this cave, and I hear gunshots behind me, and they realized I had escaped, and not just me, some girls too. We went into this cave, they just fired gunshots in there for I don't know how long. The shells and the sound is just so intense, and the girls were crying. So only 4 of us got out of the cave.
Wow.
And we ran that morning, the whole day. They caught up with us, and then we climbed the tree. We had no clothes on. We removed our clothes, left it there, climbed the tree. It started to pour, and this is the moment that I know for sure that God hid us. Because the rebels were under the tree, we were up on the tree, we were naked, it's raining, pouring, and I remember out of nowhere saying, God, hide me.
Wow.
Hide me. I didn't even know the Bible, I didn't know scriptures, you kind of Sunday school a little bit, and then, as the morning started to come, they retrieved. And we climbed down, and up from the tree we saw this dirt road, because the dirt in Africa is so red, and then we ran towards that. We met a man who thought we were rebels, so he left us there, and he said, if you're not the rebels, I'm going to send help. And then the next morning, that's when he sent help, and then we were able to be rescued.
Now I do want to jump a little bit forward. This is an amazing story, but we have to get to how you ended up going to the Uganda, what was it?
Jesus Village.
Jesus Village.
Yes.
Because you didn't go there as a refugee.
No.
You went to help.
I went to help. So I'm just going to fast track in between there. So I was not in my hometown. So it took me months to get to my actual home. And then from there, I was safe. I went to school, struggled through school, but I went up to university. I did psychology, came out of university. That's when I heard of these children in an orphanage. Children who had come from my side of the country, children who had suffered what I had suffered. So I went, in my free time, I would go to serve. But they were having challenges because these children weren't saying anything. They were not talking to anyone. They're not releasing any information. That's when I started to sit with them. And I had never really openly shared my testimony or my story, but I knew in my heart I connect with them. So in order to help the children, I needed to share my story.
You did. Yes.
So I had to share my story and open up and tell them, this is exactly what happened to you, is what happened to me, but look what God has done. Look what God has done for me. I was able to go to school. So that's really my connection with the Uganda Jesus Village. I started to work with them.
At what point did you feel you were able to forgive and move beyond this past?
Honestly, I would say when I started to work with the children, that was my major, because the rest of the years I was hiding, putting it all in a closet. Everything is good. I ran away from the story. I ran away from my past. But when I started to talk about it, it was rough, a lot of crying. I was unstable. It was just emotionally, a wreck. And then Because I was working with the children, I really thank God for the ministry that was supporting them. They started to help me so I could help the children.
That's awesome.
You know, that is your message. That,
Yes.
you know, when you hear just exactly what you endured, that you're able to forgive.
Yeah.
Not that they deserve forgiveness, but you're able to forgive for your sake.
For my sake.
And to move on and allow God to use you.
Yes.
Wow.
That is a phenomenal story. But there's more to this story because you met your husband.
Yes, I did.
When you came for a mission trip. His name is Cameron. He's a fireman, right?
Yes, he is.
Tell us that little love story here because, you know.
So I continued to work at the Uganda Jesus Village. They come on a mission trip. We meet him. The whole time I didn't even know, you know, something is there, but I had known his sister, Kira Mitchell, so she had come to Uganda a couple of times, and she kept telling me about this brother of hers who really likes me. The whole time I'm thinking Cameron is actually Kira's boyfriend.
Oh my.
Because when people come on mission trip, you're not supposed to ask personal things. You're not supposed to be, you know, be respectful.
Yes.
Right? So I thought Cameron was actually Kira's boyfriend, and then so I kind of disregarded it. But the whole time that was the brother, which was a good thing. But then later, this is the thing, he had to ask for permission for us to be in relationship because there was a rule you cannot date or be in. So then we had to get back to Canada, ask the original ministry that started the orphanage for permission.
Yes.
And that's how we got connected. I got connected to Lighthouse Church because that's where he went, and his mom was on the board.
Wow.
So my pastor asked and said, which church do you go to? Are you a Christian?
Yes.
We want to know more about your family and your
Yes,
church.
right.
That was the connection to
Oh,
Lighthouse.
that's amazing.
We're going to talk to you a little more and find out a little more about that little story as we close up the program. But,
Yes.
but I was just going to say Cameron's probably a very smart person with a good eye. He discovered something great. And
Thank you.
so we'll be right back with Jennifer's story and finishing it up. But as you can tell, there's a lot more to the story.
Yeah.
Profound.
Yeah.
Look what God can do. You know what?
Amen.
We sometimes think, well, my life is a mess. How could God fix this? Think about it. God is able. We'll be
Amen.
back right after this.
Canada needs a fresh move of God, and you can help by partnering financially with LifeLine Today with Dick and Joan and the breakthrough anointing that's on this ministry. All monthly donors join our unique group of faithful partners, and in appreciation, Dick and Joan will send you a special DVD. In it, Dick and Joan share their hearts and vision for Canada and take time to pray powerfully over you. In addition, we will send you this year's special partner fridge magnet, a reminder that you stand together with Dick and Joan for Canada. Partner at $50 a month and also receive this leather-bound journal entitled Sacred Time, Sacred Place. This journal will bring greater intimacy to your daily time with the Lord. Faith-filled partners giving $100 a month will also receive this elegant journal Bible, personally signed with a note of encouragement from Joan. Your tax-deductible donation will empower this ministry to release the prophetic voice of God across our nation. Call today and say yes to becoming a partner with Dick and Joan. Phone 403-942-0123 or email info@dickandjoan.com today.
In the Beatitudes, Luke 6:21, Jesus said, "Blessed, happy, with life joy and satisfaction are you who weep and sob now, for you shall laugh." That's the way it reads in the Amplified Bible. Are you weeping today, maybe from inner hurts, deep inner pain from the past or from the present? Listen, you take a hold of this word. Be encouraged. Know that the day will come when you will laugh again. We want to pray for you no matter what your need. Our phone lines are open. We've got compassionate, caring telephone prayer partners standing by waiting to pray for you. Give us a call. The number's on your screen, 403-942-0123.
Our guest is Jennifer Mitchell, and she's telling her story from a child soldier abducted at age 9,
Wow.
and set free. Well, she escaped, and now she's living in Canada. Now, isn't this amazing? That's Edmonton and Uganda are like very different places.
Very different.
Your husband is a fireman
Yes.
in that region, and
Yes.
you're involved in ministry. This is wonderful.
I just want to read a quote that I read when I was reading your material. Jennifer, you said this, and you say this all the time: God is so good. He can rescue you out of any pit and change any situation. Your life could have easily ended in Uganda, but here you are in Canada, still making a difference. So just tell us a little bit about what you and Cameron are doing right now to advocate for children from Canada.
So right now, our hearts is really for the next generation.
Okay.
While in Canada, we've done youth, we've done young adults. We reach out to the next generation as much as possible. We have gone into the First Nations communities and reserves. A lot of suicidal issues there,
Yes.
like in the First Nations community. We've been received really well. So we've done that to just try and bring hope, because we believe that God is a God of hope.
Yes.
And if people can see that hope, then it helps them to make the next step in the right direction. And back in Uganda, we still support the children. We have some of the children who've already graduated from university. So God is so good.
That's amazing.
We have nurses, business administrators. We still have them in school. We do have a greenhouse there that to help self-sustain the
Yes.
program. And we also have like a travel, like an agency travel that we have there. So it's amazing. We have a compound there. That now we're starting to employ the children to work in the greenhouse and do a few things,
That's
giving them life
amazing.
skills.
Yeah.
I think the core message here, though, is that for people in Western world particularly, it's almost unimaginable, the horrific experience that you had, that you are able to forgive and move on and begin to minister hope and love and peace and kindness and grace and the love of Jesus Christ to people. And that is what is inspiring.
Yeah.
That's your story, and that is so inspiring. And I want to say that it reminds us we who live in the Western world in such an entitled culture at times. We have so much. You know, we're upset if we don't have Wi-Fi, or our cell phone is turned off or something. And it's just a good reminder that God is good all the time.
All the time.
As we say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer, for sharing this. And
Yeah.
I know that God is using you powerfully, and that you're a tremendous blessing. We're very, very pleased to see
Do
this.
you have a website if people wanted to help you?
Right, we had a website. It's under construction right now,
Okay.
so we're trying to reboost a few things. But we do have a Facebook that is,
Okay.
active and stuff
Okay.
like that. The other thing also is most of our, whatever we get in, 100% goes to what we do in Uganda.
That's
We don't
amazing.
In
take
Africa?
any in Uganda.
Absolutely.
We don't take any for administration. So we're trying
Wow.
to do that kind of by volunteering.
That's amazing, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you for
your
sharing on the
story.
program today.
Wonderful.
I know you've been inspired. If you do
Yeah.
want more information, just give us a call.
Yep.
And we'll forward that information
Yeah.
so you can connect with Mitchell.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you for being part of the program. We'll see you next time.
Bless you. Bye-bye.
This program is supported by viewers like you, and we thank you for partnering with us. We want to hear from you. Send us your prayer requests, praise reports, and comments about the program. To watch past episodes, learn about the ministry, or contact us, visit our website at dickandjoan.com. You can also find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. To find out how you can have Dick and Joan at your church, event, or conference, call LifeLine Today at 587-425-5730 or email info@dickandjoan.com.